Hello and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes, a very special edition where I, Jack Kolodziejski, have brought to you, our listeners, a subject matter expert on today's film. Usually, we're just a couple of idiots talking about movies. We call them as we see them, but this time, ladies and gentlemen, we've got an expert, and his name is Jeremy Kolodziejski. Hello, Jeremy.
What's up?
How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Are you feeling like your expertise is well polished, well sharpened, and ready to cut into this film?
I mean, should I give a little background first?
Well, first, let's introduce the movie that we're talking about today, because our listeners just hit play so fast on this podcast when a new episode comes out. They don't even see what they're getting into. They're just give it to me. Just give it to me.
Fair enough.
We're talking about Mortal Kombat 2021. Mortal Kombat, the newest in the long line of video game movie adaptations. Mortal Kombat having several film adaptations and TV and animated adaptations. This is the new Warner Brothers joint coming to you in theaters. So, Jeremy, tell us why you're an expert on Mortal Kombat.
For about 10 years, well, even before that, I've been like a huge fan and huge nerd of the games, but for the last 10 years, ever since Mortal Kombat 9's release in 2011, I have been traveling all over the country to compete in tournaments for the game at a high competitive level, and it's made a very big impact on my life, and I've gotten to see places and meet people that I wouldn't have otherwise without that game series. And it's a franchise that has meant a lot to me for a long time. I've gotten to shake hands with Ed Boon.
Yeah, safe to say that you are Ed Boon, being the creator of Mortal Kombat, for those who are unaware. Mm-hmm. So safe to say that you enjoy Mortal Kombat a fair amount, maybe more than your average martial arts fan.
The games, yes. And I'm also a big fan of martial arts films. Like, I love Jackie Chan. You and I grew up on Jackie Chan movies that were coming out.
I actually just saw that they're doing like a Blu-ray release of Drunken Master 2.
Yes.
That I may have to scoop that. But all that being said, Jeremy, now that your CV is out of the way, what did you think of the 2021 Mortal Kombat film?
As both a Mortal Kombat fan and as a fan of martial arts films, this film failed to deliver on both accounts pretty spectacularly.
Yeah. So you didn't like it, huh?
Really knocked the wind out of me. I was, maybe the joke is kind of on me for having expectations for a movie based on a video game, but I feel like this one, more so than other video game adaptations, like, had basically a T-ball set up to fucking hit a home run. Like, it's not like a huge budget compared to like other like big blockbusters out there, but it's still like a pretty significant budget. This had a $90 million budget. There's a lot to go off of. Especially for like a fighting game franchise, because like over the past 10 years with Mortal Kombat 9, 10, and 11, they've proven that you can tell an effective story within the fighting game genre. They've kind of pioneered how to tell a story within that genre. So like, this
for those
movie
who haven't played them, those games have like a better story mode than any fighting game really that has come before it, and I think they're still probably on the high end of like the like single player story experience, which is usually not really the focus of those kind of games, right? So yeah,
and this movie basically had everything handed to it on like a silver plate, and it still failed to deliver on both accounts, and even on like not even just like on the Mortal Kombat end, on the martial arts end, like over the past 10 years we've seen like these movies that have really pioneered how to tell like effective and visceral action sequences. Like you have the Raid films, you have John Wick, you have The Night Comes for Us, you have like, I mean, you have an actor from the Raid and The Night Comes for Us starring in this film, and yet you still fumble pretty much every step of the way. It's like, it's kind of shocking.
Yeah, I would say that my expectations for this movie were pretty low going in.
Sure.
I did not really, all I wanted it to be was fun,
and it wasn't.
And it was not fun. I found it really boring. I don't think the new character, especially Cole Haan, was
Cole
charming.
Young. No, Cole Turner.
I thought it was Cole Haan.
It's Cole Turner. Or no, Cole Young. Cole Turner is someone else. Cole Young.
I don't know where the fuck I got Cole Haan from. But anyway.
Doesn't matter. It's the main character of the movie, and we still can't get his name right.
The reason I don't remember is he's the most boring fucking, just no charisma, no style, no nothing. And we'll get into like some of the more specifics about his character later, but like just brought nothing to the table. For a franchise that is like so overflowing with like interesting, weird, dynamic characters, they just created like the most boring main protagonist ever. And then they made a bunch of other changes. Like, okay, we'll maybe talk about some of the like specific changes that they made regarding Mortal Kombat lore in the spoiler section. But like the whole thing just felt so lifeless, and so just, I think it started really pretty strong. And
sure.
You talked about how Joe Taslim is in this, and who plays Scorpion?
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yeah, both of those are like pretty well established martial artists, and there's a fight scene which you can actually go watch on YouTube, so you don't even have to like, if you don't have HBO Go, even you can watch the best part of this movie on YouTube. It starts really strong, and I thought like, okay, this seems pretty promising. And I went from like pretty low expectations coming in to watching the first 10 minutes of the movie and thinking like, okay, sure, maybe this could be cool. And then it just, from there, that's where they introduced Cole Young. And it just, from there,
falls off a cliff.
None of it clicked for me for and all I really wanted at the end of the day was, these weird characters getting in fight scenes with each other, doing some cool fatalities, doing hyper violence to each other, and I just don't think it really delivered on any of that stuff. I thought the fight scenes were pretty boring for the most part, and definitely not choreographed. Like the first fight scene, again, between the two like probably best martial artists that are in this film, was good, and then the rest of the fight scenes just shot really closely, shot really like all over the place. A lot of the fights are not even like, there's several fights that are like not even between like human beings. We'll talk about that later. But like those fights I thought were pretty boring also.
It commits all of like the major fight scenes. I'm gonna like even include like the two like decent ones. Still commit this. There's like 4 major things that you should not do in like a 1-to-1 hand-to-hand fight scene. It's over editing, it's underlit, choreographed like pretty poorly, and there's just like no satisfying beats.
Yeah,
like nothing.
Yeah, no like rhythm to it.
There's no moments where you go like ooh, and there's nothing to like really like sell the actions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and seeing, Joe Taslim in this movie especially like makes you think of movies like The Raid or The Night Comes for Us, or some of those other movies that he's been in that are I find to be much better than this movie. I was hoping that it would have more of that energy, and it felt more like probably the closest comparison I could make to it, which is unfavorable to the movie that I'm comparing it to, is that Power Rangers reboot that they did a couple of years ago, which I actually thought was like not bad. I think that movie is better than this movie, but this movie feels closer to that Power Rangers movie than it does to anything like the Raid.
This gave me like Dragon Ball Evolution vibes.
There you go. That's maybe, I don't think it's as bad as Dragon Ball Evolution. If we had to make a tier list, it would be Dragon Ball Evolution, Mortal Kombat 2021, and then Power Rangers, whenever that came out, 2018 maybe.
Sure, fine. Yeah, fair enough. But
if we were to scientifically rate these movies,
yeah, right,
and rank them,
yeah. Oh man, it's just you hit it right there. Lifeless.
Yeah.
It feels embarrassed to be a Mortal Kombat movie. It just has zero energy or like pacing or structure. The movie's not as down as I am on it. It's not completely worthless.
No. And I think we are being hard on it. Because I think, well, obviously you're a big fan of Mortal Kombat, but like again, it was those first 10 minutes that I saw like a little bit of promise to it. That I was like, those first 10 minutes, like almost immediately, like changed my expectations, like set the bar a little higher than what I went in with, and then it just dropped off a cliff completely.
And if you think about it, Mortal Kombat should be like one of the easiest video games to adapt. Because NetherRealm has already like established that you can tell an effective narrative within this IP, and B, like all you really need is to just set up a tournament with all these crazy characters, like what the 1995 movie did, and what the last year's animated film Scorpion's Revenge does, which is also much better. If you have HBO Max, I would highly recommend watching that instead of this, if you haven't already.
I might watch that. I haven't watched that yet, but that sounds cool.
The animated movie like delivers everything that you would like. It's like the ideal Mortal Kombat movie, honestly.
I think you nailed it. Like all you need is the most vague narrative backbone to. All you need is here's a bunch of crazy characters who are doing a tournament. Like I don't need Cole Young's life story with his wife and kid. I don't need to know that he's a failed MMA fighter who's destined to be in which we'll talk about this more in spoiler territory, but who's destined because he has a fucking weird birthmark. Like there are so many good Mortal Kombat characters, even the ones that are in this movie, like Sonya Blade or Jax. I think would have been better lead characters.
It's because those characters actually have a semblance of motivation and goals. Like it's
Cole Han is basically just being. I don't know why I keep saying Cole Han. Cole Young just keeps getting like he's just strung along. I don't think he has any interest in actually doing this.
You know, it's that pitfall that a lot of like shitty blockbusters do, where it's like it's controlled by prophecy and destiny. Like you are predetermined to complete this goal, and that shit's so boring.
This is firmly in the category of shitty blockbuster. I think. Yeah,
and not shitty in like a fun way.
Which sucks because I think this movie had a lot of potential. And I think we've seen studios like do this kind of genre thing way better recently. Like I felt like most major movie studios have gotten more of a handle on like how to do a good genre movie like this. Like I think Godzilla vs. Kong is a good example of like that movie kind of just stayed in its lane and did what you expected it to do, but it did it like pretty well and had fun with it. Sure. And this movie just feels like it's trying to just avoid being the thing that it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and it doesn't really supplement that with like anything worthwhile.
No. Kano is okay.
Yeah, Kano.
He is okay.
Kano is fun. The actor who plays him, this Australian actor named Josh Lawson. Josh Lawson, is that his?
Yes, Josh Lawson.
He's probably the most fun part of the movie, and like he feels like he's the only one who's like aware that he's in a Mortal Kombat movie.
Who's the other scumbaggy dude with the mask?
Cabal.
He was okay. Brooklyn accent guy.
Yeah.
He was all right.
But like when you think about it, like the most effective thing that the Mortal Kombat 2021 has is just ripped from the 95 movie.
Which is?
Kano and his characterization.
Yep. Yeah, the relationship, specifically between like Sonya and Kano, right?
Well, that's from like the original games, but Kano being like Australian and a dirtbag is like something that the 1995 Paul W.S. Anderson movie made up, and then the games, like the later games, just kind of like took from that to characterize him in the games. So like the best thing that this new movie has going for it is just ripped from the 95 movie. So what does that tell you?
Yeah. And everything else just like, I thought Liu Kang and Kung Lao were pretty flat. Like I said, like Sonya and Jax were okay. I thought they were serviceable, but nothing special. Raiden was fine.
Most of the characters are just kind of there.
They're just kind of there, especially like, Sub-Zero. Joe Taslim as Sub-Zero was a really exciting premise. I did not find him to be like imposing or threatening or
they didn't really
he kind of just shows he just man
they
this
didn't give him much
sucks.
to do. They didn't give him much to do.
Yeah.
You have like what we said before, you have two very accomplished martial arts actors in your movie playing the most iconic roles from the game, and you barely use them.
Yep. I agree. Yeah,
Who thought that was a good idea?
We spend a long time with Cole Young and his family.
Oh, God.
Do not give a shit about Cole Young and his family unless his family is also participating in ripping people's heads off. Not interested.
Which, that's like, sort of what we can get into spoilers in a minute.
I think we're almost ready to flip over to spoiler territory. The other thing I wanted to bring up was like the writer and director on this movie seemingly came from nowhere. Like I'm looking at their IMDb, Simon McQuoid, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, is the director. And the only other thing he's done besides Mortal Kombat is a video short from 2014 called The Nighttime Economy.
He's apparently like a veteran commercial director. He's made a bunch of commercials. And this is his
Weird
first.
choice.
And the main writer, Greg Russo, his IMDb is like bare.
He's a writer for Category 6, which is not out yet. He's a writer for Death Note 2 and Space Invaders.
Oh, God.
And that's it. Like, did they grow these people in a test tube? Like, where did they come from, and why are they getting a $90 million movie as their first movie? I don't understand. Anyway, again, like you said, this is not the worst movie. It's like, it's not complete, unmitigated garbage trash. I just think it had a lot of potential that it totally squandered.
I don't think this is even the worst Mortal Kombat movie.
No, I mean, it's not Annihilation.
Because Annihilation is nearly unwatchable.
Yeah.
But like the most shocking thing is that like as much as people like dogpile on Annihilation, and rightfully so, it's kind of baffling that this new movie makes some of the same choices that MK Annihilation does.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest problem with this movie for me is I just was bored with it. I was not having fun.
It doesn't give you a reason to care about anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't need to feel pathos from fucking Liu Kang, but I want him to do cool martial arts.
You at least want him to be likable.
Yeah, sure. But only in the most borderline sense. Like or like baseline sense. I don't need him.
Which is what the 95
or any of the
movie
characters.
does.
Yeah, exactly. I think the 95 movie embraces the camp in a way that makes it more fun, a little more tongue in cheek. This is like so deadly self-serious, but then they're also like inject some memes in there at the same time, which also I don't think are very funny.
It's that Joss Whedon brain poison that has infected a lot of blockbuster movies these days.
This movie felt like it wanted to be like the producers of this movie were like, what if we could do like an Avengers type thing, but for Mortal Kombat? And in that way, it also feels like this movie is just a prequel to like what they really want to make. Which in that case,
just make what you really want to make. Who cares?
I know. I agree. I wish they had just do. How do you make a Mortal Kombat movie and not do a fucking tournament? How? Tell me, Jeremy.
You just said that like how the announcer says. How do you make a Mortal Kombat tournament without a tournament? Dun, 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 dun.
Ah, Jesus. All right, you want to go to Spoiler Zone?
Fuck it.
Let's go Spoiler Zone.
Let's finish
be right back. All right, Jeremy. How do you want to spoil this movie?
Well,
you want to talk about Cole Young first?
Oh God, honestly, what is there?
Is there anything else to say that we have not already said?
It's he's that. It seems as though when Hollywood executives don't have any faith in the IP that they're adapting, they insert this audience surrogate OC who everyone explains the lore to.
Right.
And he's like a supposed descendant from Scorpion.
From Scorpion, right.
Who was like a samurai in the 1600s, which that's fine, I guess. But like they didn't make it like totally clear that he was like a descendant at first, because in the beginning, Raiden takes the baby. This baby who survives the Lin Kuei attacking the temple, and and so I was under the impression that the baby that Raiden takes was Cole, and for some reason Raiden kept the baby alive for 400 years. And
he just put it on ice for 400 years.
Yeah, because honestly, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Sub-Zero lived for 400 years.
Right.
So...
Well, he's like a demon, kind of.
Yeah.
I guess.
Or maybe time moves slower in Outworld.
Sure. That doesn't matter.
Because there's
Sub-Zero's still around.
Because like you think about these things, because they the only reason that I'm thinking about these things is that they try to over-explain some aspects of the movie's lore and leave everything else like kind of like haphazardly.
Sure.
So, I normally wouldn't care about this kind of thing because, it's hate to just like be comparing this to the 95 movie over and over, but like the 95 movie doesn't like really care. It's just like, here are the characters. You don't have to
explain any of this shit.
No, you don't.
There's Outworld and there's Earthrealm. They're going to have a tournament and fight.
Yep.
Done. Script done.
Yep. And some of these characters have superpowers. Why do they have...
Okay. It brings me to the next thing.
Yeah.
The Arcana and the fucking dragon birthmark. So I remember when the first trailer for this movie came out, I was psyched on that trailer. I thought that trailer looked fucking great. Turns out that trailer was literally all the best parts from this movie just cut into 2 minutes. But the one thing from that trailer that made me like go, we don't have to do that movie is the fucking, it's not a tattoo or it's not a birthmark. It means you're a chosen one. It's like, why? No, that's so stupid. And then like I actually do kind of like the wrinkle that like if somebody else has the birthmark and you kill that person, then you get it and you get to be in the tournament. Like you get to take their invite. That's okay. I don't mind
some kind of like Highlander shit.
Sure, whatever. That's fine. It presents a good opportunity for Sonya to murder Kano and get his thing. But the Arcana shit is so fucking whack, man.
And the movie spends a lot of time.
It's like you said, it's trying to, for some reason, it's trying to swerve on this like already well-established Mortal Kombat lore and over-explain why these fighters have like cool powers.
And you're trying to explain this to an audience who has been so oversaturated with superhero movie media for the last 25 years. Do you really need to explain why certain characters have superpowers? No.
And then brings us back to Cole Haan. Cole Young. What is wrong with me today? I need to whatever. Cole Young. His power is so fucking lame. I thought his fit was lame when they were just walking in the desert. Like when he actually like gets recruited by Sonya and they, Sonya's got on her fucking tactical gear and stuff like that. And Kano's dressed up how Kano dresses up. And then Cole's just got his fucking J. Crew fit on, his skinny jeans and black t-shirt. It's like, bro, we're going to the desert to do some fighting shit.
He looks he looks like your average person that plays Mortal Kombat.
You don't got anything with like cargo pockets or something? Bring some snacks or some water while we traipse through the desert?
Or like maybe like your MMA wraps?
Anything to make you look cooler than how you look? Like maybe we're going to be fighting ninjas.
A headband?
Something. It doesn't matter. Just something. And I think that is like representative of how I feel about this whole movie is just like there's no flair or design to it because it just wants to be this like kind of vanilla thing. And then when he gets his power, it's just the Black Panther suit where he absorbs blows and then reuses that energy, which he totally forgets about, or the movie forgets about in the final fight with Sub-Zero. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just lame.
Yeah, I mean, you probably heard this joke if you're on Twitter a lot, but his power is literally plot armor.
Yes.
Plot armor. Yeah.
It's just so boring. There's just nothing like fun to it for me.
Completely flavorless.
Yeah, flavorless.
And one of the big marketing gimmicks that this movie had to try and give it like a leg up over the movies from the 90s is that this one actually is R-rated and is gory and like it has all the gore that you want from the games, which is a fair criticism of the the 90s movies, is that it is kind of like those 90s movies, for as well as they do other stuff, it is kind of missing that like that extra viscera that the games have. But like all the gore in this movie is like pretty few and far between.
All CG.
And
also.
all CG, very little practical gore, so you don't really get any of the like the impacts of it. And most of the characters that like get fatalitied, I guess, are just like
the most like E-tier
random E-tier characters that they just pull from like the PS2 era games.
Yep. Everybody's favorite, Mortal Kombat Deception.
Yeah, I like that game, but
Jeremy's favorite, Mortal Kombat Deception.
That was the one I played most on the GameCube.
Was that the one that had the cool, like, Outland story mode single player?
Yes. That was the one where it had just, like, a whole ass RPG.
Yeah.
Inside
what was the one
that
was less good? Was that Armageddon?
Armageddon was the one that had, like, every character from, like, the whole franchise in it, including, like, Meat.
Sure. Everybody's but Meat is like the tier of character that we're talking about here. And you have like bald hammer guy who just looks like a cut rate. What's his name? Not Shao Kahn. Yeah.
Well, that was funny enough. That was his character in the games. Is that he's just like his lore in the games is that like he takes over Shao Kahn's army after Shao Kahn is killed in MK3. But that doesn't matter because none of that's in the movie. He's just dude with hammer.
Dragonfly lady who just gets instantly killed. With maybe my favorite kill of the movie is Kung Lao's
probably the most
kill.
Fun kill in the movie.
But then they turn around and just like, he's getting his soul sucked by Kung Lao. Okay, doesn't even get a fight. He just gets soul sucked real quick.
Yep.
I looked it up, by the way. Cole Haan is a seemingly discount shoe company. And if you look at Cole Haan's website, that's pretty much what Cole Young's whole fit is for the majority of this movie. Fuck, man.
And anyway, the point I was getting at was that the like the fatalities, the people who get the fatalities are just like these E-tier jobbers who like get immediately introduced and then immediately killed. So it's like there's no tension. There's no like it feels like there's no consequences to like the fights.
Right.
You know?
Yep. Yeah. Except maybe like when Kano gets killed.
I guess.
And he's the only character who's like funny or charming or interesting.
Yeah.
In the whole movie.
But but that fight scene was like shot in like a dingy ass like trailer park in Indiana.
That brings me to another one of my problems with this movie is like none of the locations where any of the fights take place are interesting at all. You've got the one fight where Jax fights Hammer Bro on like the kind of classic
the pit.
Pit. And then he doesn't even knock him into the spikes.
Nope.
Come on.
In the 95 movie, someone gets knocked into spikes.
Well, you could have done the exact same fatality that Jax did to that guy, and then he could have pushed him over into the spikes.
Sure.
Anyway, just
a lot of missed potential.
So much missed potential. Yeah. Like the final fight with Sub-Zero and Scorpion and Cole is in like a frozen school, I guess.
It looks
just
like a gym.
Abandoned gym, something like. But like, there's
to
no flavor to any of those, backgrounds either. Which is another thing from Mortal Kombat that I would say you got to do right is like have interesting locations for where you fight.
That's probably the most interesting location in the movie because it's like it feels like the one that's like remotely inspired, like an abandoned location that Sub-Zero takes over and like freezes over. That's like
I guess. But even still, as an abandoned location, it's a pretty boring one.
Compared to every other location, it's like the most inspired.
It's a low bar.
It is a very low bar.
What else? Did I have anything else to say about this movie? I don't know. I feel like we've just been shitting on it for half an hour. Is there anything positive we can say about this movie?
Well, there's some individual performances that we already mentioned. Kano, he's fun. He got a little grating towards the end, to be honest. I think it seemed like while they were filming, they realized that the Kano actor was the only guy bringing like any sense of personality. So he was like, just keep going, just keep riffing.
Yep.
Just keep it moving. Let's have more Kano, because we haven't figured out another way to make our fighting tournament movie entertaining.
No, if it was a fighting tournament movie, it would be more entertaining, but it's a not fighting tournament movie. I'm so annoyed that they didn't do a tournament. And if they're going to do that in the next movie, like, why am I going to go see the next movie? Well, I thought I didn't like this first one.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you had your one chance to sell me.
But I heard allegedly that they signed or they optioned Joe Taslim for 4 more of these movies.
Oh, wow.
To me, this is just like all the worst parts of making blockbuster movies in 2021 distilled like into one movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe it, and it's such a shame that it's attached to a franchise that I've had a long history with,
that you like a lot. Yeah,
but I suppose that's what happens when you get yourself too attached to a franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I was really hoping this movie would have more of the energy of an adaptation like Dread.
Sure,
R-rated movie adapted from a established IP, just gets down to fucking business, brass tacks, cool ass action scenes, gore. That's all you need.
That's why you needed Alex Garland to make a Mortal Kombat movie.
That would be better. That would have been better.
I was thinking like what if Sam Raimi made a Mortal Kombat movie? Because
it would be more interesting.
Because when we were talking about this movie before, you brought up The Quick and the Dead.
Yes, The Quick and the Dead,
which is
1995 movie as well. Came out the same year as Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's a cowboy movie where they just do a fucking tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they doing a tournament? Who cares? They're doing a tournament. One-on-one fights.
Because Gene Hackman basically plays Western Shang Tsung.
Pretty much. That's pretty much dead on. Which brings us to Shang Tsung, which we haven't talked about at all.
There's nothing to talk
Chin
about.
Han plays him. There's nothing.
He's the guy
he has nothing
from
to do.
The Dark Knight, the one who gets kidnapped in Hong Kong.
Right. With a pretty egregious wig.
Yeah.
And just does not hold a candle to the 1995 Shang Tsung.
I mean the Kerry Tagawa was so good that they brought him back in the most recent game.
Yep.
To play that character.
And it's cool.
I don't think they're gonna do that with this Chin Han guy.
No. Well, weren't people saying that like, oh, maybe the new protagonist in this Mortal Kombat movie will get brought back to the game or something like that? And now people are like, no, thank you. You can keep that actually.
Hell no. Keep them away from the games.
Yeah. Well, you don't want the plot armor and tonfas?
Enough characters that already have tonfas.
Yeah.
And,
who even uses a tonfa? Come on.
Yeah, it's kind of a lame weapon. You know who uses tonfas? A Striker. Remember Striker?
But Striker also uses guns and grenades.
Yeah.
And that's not even really a tonfa. That's a police baton.
Sure.
Anyway, do you have anything else to say about Mortal Kombat, Jeremy? I think I'm pretty much tapped out.
Maybe using a character like Striker would probably be a bad idea to have as a main character in your movie.
Probably not the right time and place to do Striker. Yeah. No.
If you're that curious and if you're that big of a fan of Mortal Kombat and you just want to see for yourself how this movie is and form your own opinion, go for it, I guess.
Sure. But, I mean, it's playing at Story Screen. Probably will be continuing to play while after this podcast goes up. But you can also see it on HBO Max. I would say if you're going to watch this movie at all, it's better on a big screen with a loud sound system.
But even on HBO Max, like HBO Max currently has the animated Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge.
Yep.
Which actually, that movie has its own issues, but it actually delivers on what you want.
Yeah. Can you play MK9 on a PS4 or a PS5? You cannot.
No.
I'm surprised they have not remastered that and put that on.
You're not the only one who has said that. It's not even available on the Steam store.
Shit. They didn't make a PC version of MK9.
There is a PC version of MK9.
Oh, really?
A couple of years ago, it was taken off of the Steam store. I think probably because of like licensing, maybe something to do with Freddy Krueger.
Sure. Freddy's always fucking stuff up, isn't he? Jerk.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's going to do it for Mortal Kombat, Jeremy, unless you have any other closing thoughts.
If you have Netflix, go watch The Night Comes for Us.
That movie fucking rocks.
White boy Bobby has a hell of a lot more personality in his...
And I feel like a lot of people missed that one. I think most people have heard of The Raid and seen The Raid. But The Night Comes for Us, I think, kind of flew under the radar a little bit.
I mean, Netflix does like a really poor job of like advertising like more than half of their catalog. So
yeah. Well, they have a lot of.
So that's why I'm saying it here. If you haven't seen The Night Comes for Us,
I'm gonna mean to watch that again.
And
so that is the most ouchy movie I've ever seen.
Probably, yeah.
You just watch that one and ouch,
and watch the animated Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge, and maybe rewatch the 1995 movie because I think that movie...
I kind of do. I want to watch the 1995. Is that available anywhere?
Probably it's not on HBO Max. Annihilation is on HBO Max.
Oh, good.
But the 1995...
You do not recommend watching that one.
No. But as you know, there's some aspects of the 1995 movie that don't hold up, especially in regards to its very early 90s CG. But
sure.
But
even that has its own charm now. It's like so bad it's good.
Yeah, the 95 movie has a lot of charm to it in general.
Which is something I wish this movie had some more of.
Me too.
Maybe in the next one.
Oh God. You can't always fall for that though. Cuz that's how Hollywood movies.
Well, what can I say, Jeremy? I'm a sucker. I see all the movies that come out anyway.
That's how Hollywood like strings you along. It's like, oh, you're gonna keep seeing our movie, but we don't have to put any effort into it because you're just gonna hope for the next one to be better.
Yep,
suckers.
I'm a mark. What can I say?
I'm not saying that's you, but I'm saying that's definitely something that that Hollywood likes to do. Anyway, yep, that concludes my thoughts.
This is not the only podcast that Story Screen does. There have been many. It's outdated now, but you can watch listen to the Oscar Predictions podcast and find out how wrong we were. Robbie and I also just did a podcast on Shiva Baby, which is a cool movie that's been playing at Story Screen. You should check that out if you want to, or you can just go to storyscreenbeacon.com and see all the articles, reviews, podcasts, and movie times. So you can come see a movie. Jeremy, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
You and I together.
Yeah. Happy to be here. Happy to do this.
And if you like this podcast, go leave us a little review. Or if you hate this podcast now because this is your favorite movie of the year, then you know what? You are valid. And I'm glad that you had a better time than I did. I wish I enjoyed it as much as you did. Imaginary person that I'm making up right now. People have liked this movie. I've seen people like this movie. Just not us.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to end this podcast now. Bye.
Peace out.